My name is Kristen Baumgartner, and I'm with Baracus Blum Computer Consulting. Today, I'll be reviewing Scanco's multi-bin software for Sage 100. Baracus Blum Computer Consulting has been selling and implementing Sage products for over 30 years and is one of the top Sage 100 solution providers in the country. We are dedicated to helping our clients continuously improve and have industry experience that comes from years of expertise and real-world knowledge. In today's presentation, I'll be reviewing what is the Scanco Multi-Bin software used for, the multi-bin data within Sage 100, and examples of multi-bin transactions within Sage. Where Sage 100 allows for a single bin location to be associated to an item, Scanco Multi-Bin can be used to create and track multiple locations for items in warehouse racking, floor locations, or even virtual bins for tracking and visibility. Advanced functionality can provide employees direction when items need to be put away after received, or an item needs to be picked for sales order fulfillment. Scanco also offers a number of additional multi-bin modules for multi-bin, such as pallet tracking and on-the-water receiving, that use multi-bin as the base framework. Scanco Multi-Bin is an add-on enhancement for Sage 100 that can be beneficial for distributors and manufacturers looking to gain inventory control and is integrated with Sage 100 inventory, sales order, purchase order, RMA, bill of materials, production management, and operations management modules. Let's take a look at Multi-Bin in our Sage environment. Within Sage, the Scanco multi-bin data touches inventory management, sales order, purchase order, RMA, bill of materials if you're using production management or operations management, depending if you have those manufacturing modules. Basically, anywhere where a physical quantity will be used in a transaction within Sage, multi-bin can have an impact on those transactions. Multi-bin can be enabled by Sage company code, by warehouse, and by product line. So multi-bin can exist in one Sage company code, but not another, can exist in a company code, but only in certain warehouses, and may only apply to certain products that you would like to track. Let's take a look at multi-bin first in inventory management. Under item maintenance, we're going to look at one of my example items. In Sage 100, if we go under the More tab, under our reorder option, we do have the ability to capture a single primary bin location. But in essence, Sage is showing us that all items within this warehouse would exist within this one location. That may not necessarily be the case at all times. With Scanco Multi-Bin, a new Multi-Bin tab is brought into the install. When we look at that multi-bin tab, we can see much more detailed information than just a single bin location. For example, we can see things like the individual bin names. We can see what types of bins these particular items are located in. Some might be picking locations, others might be staging locations. We can have restrictions to those locations where we can hold them out from certain transactions within our Sage environment. We're also able to see the quantity on hand within those locations. If anything has been allocated or promised, such as for a sales order or a manufacturing process or a transfer, we can also see what that remaining calculated quantity available will be. Within our item maintenance and multi-bin tab, I can choose to jump over to bin locations. Using this quality as an example, by simply clicking the hyperlink, I am able to get into bin location maintenance, where I can see the details for this particular bin. I can see which items are currently located in it. And in my setup options for bin locations, this is how I can restrict for manufacturing and sales order process. In my example, my quality bin is an area where I review the items before releasing them back to a sales order or manufacturing process. Back in item maintenance on our multi-bin tab, we also have the ability to set up item location defaults, where the bins can be set up to behave in a certain way. We can set up items specific to bins and how we would like them to work. Here, you can see my bin B10M is set as a primary picking location. That's because I've defined it here in my multi-bin setup information. I've also defined a minimum and maximum capacity for this bin location to help me with some of the directions that I would want to give to my employees to tell them where to take items from and when it needs to be replenished, the maximum capacities that that location is able to handle. Allocations for items are promises for a specific process. If I go into an item bin location that has allocations, I can use my lookup here to show all of my multi-bin allocations currently for this item. You can see my different bin locations are showing here, and I can see the quantity allocated along with a document reference number and my description for what the allocation holds. Multi-bin movements can also be performed here in item maintenance. As an example, if I needed to move some of these items out of my receiving location, I could simply use the quick transfer here, dictate how many items I'm moving, confirm which location I'm putting those items in, and hitting proceed. Multi-bin is a real-time update to your Sage environment, meaning no registers are necessarily required to be posted. This is an option in our multi-bin settings. Those 50 items were just transferred to this new bin location, which is a pick type location, and instantaneously as soon as I hit that transfer button. Here you can see my receiving has now been reduced to 100. This information becomes real time for all Sage users. Where we've been managing a single item or a single bin location, there is also a way to look at multiple items and multiple locations at the same time. In our multi-bin inventory dashboard, here I can choose by my filter settings for which information I would like to pull up into my grid. I can choose by different types of bin locations. I can choose to name a bin location or a specific item. I also have the ability to enter other options to be able to quantify what I want to see in my dashboard. Here, as an example, we're going to look at our receiving bin. When I hit select for my receiving bin in my warehouse 000, I am able to see all items that are currently located in that staging location, when they were received, the quantity on hand, and if any have been allocated out of that receiving bin for particular orders. As an item maintenance, I'm also able to drill into those allocations to perform quick transfers, to go back to item maintenance, or to look more detail at that receiving bin location. I'm also able in this dashboard using my control button to grab items and actually transfer them en masse and in bulk using my group transfer option. Here, I'm able to select which items I want to move. If I've chosen items in error, I can choose to deselect those items. I can override the quantities that I wish to move. And I can choose a bin location to put those items to. Perhaps in this scenario, this particular item with this particular lot, I found two that need to be reviewed, and I can make that transfer to my quality bin. Perhaps in this lot, I also found some issues and will be transferring an additional amount. Here, I'm able to perform this transfer, and those items have now dropped out of my receiving bin and moved to my quality bin locations. Multi-bin entries are required whenever a quantity on hand is entered for an active company code, warehouse code, and product line. Using receipt of goods as an example, we're going to pull up an existing receipt of goods that I have within my system. When I go to my lines tab where I would be confirming the quantity I have received, once I enter that quantity, you can see I get a distribution flag on the line. I can either tab off the line, click off the line, or use this distribution grid. but it's asking me for now my bin location for where I will be putting these items. Depending on your setup, you can default information. So you could be bringing everything into a general receiving location, or you could be selecting the location for the item. Again, here I'm distributing 75 of them. I'm also able with these distribution grids to pick multiple locations where this item will be put away. When I click on a miscellaneous item, just to illustrate the difference, multi-bin recognizes that this item is not required to have multi-bin tracking. And when I click off that line, no additional distribution is pulled in for this particular item. As another example, we can also see our allocations within our sales orders. Here, I've started a new sales order with today's date for one of my customers. When I go to the Lines tab, normally I would be entering just the item codes, and this process can be the same. As I order these items for my particular customer, I do have the ability with multi-bin enabled to have a few different options. Here, as an example, let's say I wanted to promise a particular lot for this particular customer. I can use this distribution grid here, and I can choose to allocate to a particular bin and lot this particular item. Here, I'm going to choose my overflow location. It recognizes what lot is currently in my overflow. Confirming how many I will be distributing, I click OK, and now I have an allocation to this particular item. If I go back to my header, I'm also able to see that inventory is allocated. And if perhaps I've made a mistake, I can clear those allocations, redisplay that sales order, and repeat the process with my correct allocations, or I can go back into the distribution to enter them and change them. With multi-bin levels, multi-bin premium also allows for a button to auto-allocate this process, where I would not have to go into distribution grids, but based on higher logic, when I hit allocate, it would pull out to my system and automatically allocate the locations based on my system setup. Here, if I go back to that lot and look, we can now see that I do have a lot and a bin location already distributed for this particular item. The same would go for my first item here. Additional functionality that Multi-Bin gives is also to give replenishment dashboard and directed put away dashboard capabilities. Again, these are both offered in the Multi-Bin Premium product. The replenishment dashboard essentially looks at overflow locations to determine when primary pick locations or picking locations need to have more stock moved to them. Directed put away dashboard allows you to see items that are currently in staging locations that have yet to be put away to the shelf. As an example, if I go to my directed put away dashboard and create a new batch, I can give a batch description. Maybe it's today's put away list. Here, my put away type that I'm going to be using as an example is from my PO receiving location to its proper place on the shelf. When I hit select, I will get a generated list showing me the items, the bin that I need to be using, which is my receiving location, the quantity required, and the bin I need to be using to put those items away. Here, this tool can direct employees to where they need to go to put those items to their proper places. This video has covered the basics of the Scanco Multi-Bin software. Thank you for your time today, and if you have any additional questions on Scanco products or Sage 100 functionality, please reach out to the Baracus Blum Computer Consulting team.